Hello and welcome. In today's episode I'm going to show you how this kitchen is finally nearing completion. So I'm putting all the drawers in and all the doors on the cabinets. And if you watched the previous episode, you know these are the unfinished cabinets, so I had to stain them. So now you're gonna see me just put basically all this stuff together. So this is pretty much straightforward. Doing this way, buying unfinished cabinets and staining them yourself and installing everything yourself, it saves you a nice chunk of change, because you can see here, if you get just the cabinets, you're looking at over $4,000 in cabinets if you get the finished stuff. I mean, it is going to be nicer and the finish will be nicer, but here you'll see me here how I'm planning on finishing everything else out and trimming all these things out, and you'll see how this all comes together. So just because the unfinished cabinets are cheap, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to look cheap. And this is, I mean, I love how this came out. And the stain, by doing this, you get to match the stain of the whole house, because you can see the tongue and groove on the ceiling. So that stain matches the cabinets. And then also the trim around the windows also matches the cabinets. So everything got a nice kind of cohesive look to it. So everything kind of blends in together. And that's basically how that is here. I'm just putting the drawers here. This is a 30-inch cabinet for the sink cabinet. Just so you have an idea, because usually it's 36 inches, but since this house is so small, I wanted a little bit more counter space. So what I did is I shrunk the sink cabinet, the base cabinet, and then I gave the customer a little bit over 4 feet to the left of that cabinet at counter space. Because you'll see where the dishwasher is going to go, that's 2 feet, and then that cabinet with the 3 drawers, that's also 2 feet. So you literally have about 4 feet and I would say maybe 2 inches to be exact of counter space. And then that corner cabinet, you also have 3 feet of space right there. So this is how this looks. So now you have an idea, since I'm still messing around with this camera since it's new, so I'm learning how to use it, but you have a decent idea how this is going to look. So everything is kind of falling together. And right here, that the door that I'm putting on, I am making a mistake here, but I'm not realizing it yet. So just watch the video and you'll see basically where what happens here, how come that is a mistake. But this is pretty much straightforward. The reason why everything is off, because I wanted to stain it when it was off. It's easier that way. You just do it on a table, and you saw that in the previous episode. It's literally a piece of cake. You just gotta open up the windows so you don't breathe all the fumes in, and have a fan going like I do here, and you just stain everything. And $10 to stain all these cabinets. And actually I had stain left over from the quart. So because it does not take much at all, I think a little bit over a gallon it took to stain this whole house. And a gallon is $27 of stain. And this stain was bought from Home Depot. And the color is golden oak, if you're curious. So that's just how that is. That cabinet is 30 inches, because that is standard height and standard width for a microwave, and also for a regular range is 30 inches. And here I'm drilling the holes because I'm flipping the doors. I want them to go open up this way, as the way you see it, because I want everything to open a certain way. So I had to do a little bit of, I guess, custom drilling here, so make sure that my stuff opens, see, that way. And that's the way I wanted it. So everything's got a kind of a uniform feel to it. And the bottom cabinet that to my right of my leg is also going to open that same way. And here I'm just aligning the lower cabinet to make sure it's even with the top, because I have to have 30 inches for the range. So I'm just, using just a pencil just to score a mark, and nobody sees that because it's going to be behind the stove. So the pencil mark is non-relevant. And here I'm just double checking, make sure I have 30 inches. And then you just have to follow and find the stud, like from the upper cabinet, and just drill into it. So your lower cabinet doesn't move around too much on you. I mean, this is not going to be real sturdy, because it's just by itself there, but it'll do the job once the granite goes on, because this house will have granite everywhere, bathrooms and the kitchen. It's going to sturdy that cabinet up a little bit. So that's that. Everything is coming together. Here's the drawer. That is a 12-inch wide cabinet, just to give a little bit of separation between the range and the refrigerator. And that one right there is 36 inches. So I wanted this one to be a little bit wider, just in case my customer wanted to get a 36-inch fridge. Because fridges come in a lot of sizes, but the most common are 30 inches. That's what she decided to go with on this house. And there's 33 and also 36. So that's the most common ones. So this 36 will give her room pretty much for anything in the future or whatever. And see, here's my mistake. So that is supposed to go on that upper corner cabinet. And since it was so close in size, I just made a mistake. So it happens. It happens to the best of us. And see, that's more like it. You don't have that gap. But that's how the kitchen's coming together. So for a budget kitchen, this thing was, everything was $1,600, but that included the bathrooms. So this kitchen is actually about $1,200 to $1,300, somewhere around there. You do have to do a little bit of work, but I think it's worth it if you save yourself $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It all depends what cabinets you get. And to me, that's worth it. $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, I can do a lot of things with that money in a small house like this. And see, this is what I'm getting at, is how I do things a little bit differently in custom. By the way, this is just a regular 24-inch cabinet with a drawer, but I converted it to a sink cabinet since the sink is going to go in that bathroom. And this is what I mean. That's with the boards that you just saw. This is what I'm doing. That side of that pantry and also the other pantry that you saw that I made a mistake on, that's going to be trimmed out with this. And it's just little boards I bought from, these are actually from Lowe's, because Home Depot's boards are a little bit thicker and they have a groove going in the middle, and I don't like that. And these are just one solid piece, so there's no groove in the middle. So I'm just putting liquid nails there and then nailing it in, tacking it in with a nailer. That's all it is. So now, instead of just having a smooth finish like a lot of these cabinets do, it's just a panel that they use. And that panel is just, it looks boring in my opinion. But this is going to give it a little bit more character. So you literally have tongue and groove trim on the side of that pantry. And so that's going to change these cabinets, the look of these cabinets, absolutely. It's just going to look completely different. So even though these are cheap cabinets, I am aware of that, and people tell me that all the time, they point it out, but I'm not spending $10,000, $20,000 on cabinets on a budget house like this. And even if my own house, I wouldn't spend that much money on cabinets. I'd rather put that money to use somewhere else. So this kitchen and these cabinets are plenty good, and they're going to hold up dishes, and I don't see an issue with these at all. And you see that? So that looks pretty good. And now what I'm doing is I'm building support for the granite on the back of the dishwasher. So I'm just putting in just a regular 1x that I had left over from when I was trimming and ripping things, and just building support so my granite has somewhere to rest. Since this is, as you can see, it's 24 inches on unsupported floating granite, and I just like to put some kind of support back there. Just so, to give strength to the granite so nothing cracks if somebody puts a heavy pot or something crazy happens. So it's just thinking ahead, looking out for the customer who buys the house. And it's just takes a second to put it up there. And see, I'm doing the same thing, the little tongue and groove, baby tongue and groove as I call it, on that corner cabinet. And this is pretty much straightforward work. It's easy. Just cut it to length, make sure it's kind of a tight fit on the tight side, and just glue it and nail it, and it's gonna stay up there. And if it does fall off for whatever reason, at least you know how to fix it. But with the glue and the nails, you'll be fine. You see that? So this is how it's coming together. Now I'm drilling here holes, because what I'm going to do, you see that the gap between the wall and the pantry? So I gotta close that up. And all I'm going to do is just use a 1x3, and I actually had to rip it a little bit to clear the doors so they can open properly. So all I did is just took a 1x3 and ripped it, stained it, and nailed it into the little blocks that I created. And when you're screwing that in, just be careful. This, honestly, I should have had the doors off, but whatever, it's not a big deal. It would have been easier. But these blocks, just be careful when you're screwing them in so they don't spin on you and they don't damage your drywall. And that's it. So now you see that 1x3, and all I gotta do is just cut that to size. And like I said, I ripped it a little bit. I forgot now how much exactly. And then you just nail it. And then you're gonna have to make sure that it's nice and tight against there. If you can notice in the video, I put painter's tape where I had the blocks, so I have something to nail into, and then I put in a couple on an angle, so it's nice and solid. But that's that. So see, now that gap disappeared. I mean, it is what it is. It might not look super professional, but I think it blends in pretty good. It's good enough, and I would be perfectly happy with this in my own house, so I don't see an issue with it. And since the boards, you can see the trim on the windows here, perfect example to the left, everything kind of matches. So I'm using the same boards all over the house, so everything has this kind of cohesive togetherness. I don't know how to describe that better, but you guys will get it. And now I'm just putting toe kick. For future reference, I will not be using these toe kicks ever again because they are too thin and the nails like to go through them. So that's the reason why I put glue there. And I had to be real careful and just make sure that the nails, I nailed it so it doesn't fall off. So I'm going to be using my own toe kick. I'll figure that out on the next build. And that's that you just saw me sweeping. I've been talking about a lot of that because I don't like to slide around on sawdust. And there you go, just put in the toe kick, and that's cut from the factory. All you gotta do is just cut it to length, and that's a done deal. But if you're doing it, I would recommend you put glue behind it. Whatever toe kick you have a nice solid toe kick. And these are these little blocks, leftovers, I'm putting behind that corner cabinet so it doesn't move on me when people use it. So it's kind of creating a wedge back there, you see that?